Hey everyone! It's been quite a while since I made a video. To explain all of this, I've actually been busy over the past year or so working on my honors program research thesis for my last semester of undergrad, which is crazy. And today I'll be making my presentation on my research. If you are here from my class, please feel free to skip around. I'm not sure how to do it yet, but I'm gonna try to do like those chapter features for the YouTube video. So my thesis is called Femininity and Feminism and Marketing Through the Disney Princess Lens. So we're gonna talk about how the brand got started, the historical context surrounding the brand, critiques, everything like that. So let's get to it. Actually, maybe I should change first. That's better. Now let's get to it. Introduction.
Hey guys. Hey, Pam, what are you?
I'm Dr. Cinderella.
Cece's really into princesses now, so we decided to turn them into positive female role models.
I'm an oncologist.
So have you guys seen parents or people in general who think like this? This is just one of many examples of parents showing public disdain for princesses. Pam and Jim here from The Office, like many 21st century parents, see princesses as kind of just damsels in distress and worry that their daughters will follow their glass slipper footsteps. Actress Keira Knightley also repeatedly said in many interviews that she has banned her daughter from seeing movies like Cinderella.
She's banned from seeing certain children's movies, right?
Yeah.
What are they?
Cinderella, banned, because, you know, she waits around for a rich guy to rescue her. Don't rescue yourself, obviously.
So let's talk about the Disney princesses, the worldwide icons and literal pop culture royalty. More people are familiar with these versions than the literary classics that they come from. And that means when people complain about princesses, they're usually talking about the Disney ones. Even after 83 years since Disney's first princess, Snow White, they've stayed at the top of the game. They follow maybe only Mickey Mouse as the face of the company. You know, Snow White made history as the first full-length feature animated film. Cinderella saved the studio from bankruptcy. And of course, we have Sleeping Beauty Castle as the centerpiece of Disneyland since day one. But apart from the movies, the actual Disney Princess brand is still a pretty recent phenomenon. The Walt Disney Company made $2.7 billion in 2016 with the Disney Princess franchise alone. And that number has just kept growing and growing every year. To clarify, the Disney Princess franchise is an official lineup of Disney heroines that they put together to sell toys, merch, and other stuff, kind of like the Avengers. And this official lineup of 12 characters includes Snow White from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella from Cinderella, Aurora from Sleeping Beauty, Ariel from The Little Mermaid, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Jasmine from Aladdin, Pocahontas from Pocahontas, Mulan from Mulan, Tiana from Princess and the Frog, Rapunzel from Tangled, Merida from Brave, and Moana from Moana. And Tinkerbell was actually part of the original lineup, but they kind of kicked her out because she didn't really fit the princess look and she fit much better in the Disney Fairies franchise that they made specifically for Pixie Hollow. You may also be wondering why some of your favorite princesses aren't in the official 12. Anna and Elsa from Frozen, for example, even though they're princess and queen from Arendelle in a film that became the highest grossing animated movie of all time, well, they kind of are gonna overshadow the other 12, so they made Frozen a separate franchise because of their huge popularity. And there's no like public set of requirements for a character to become an official Disney princess, but with precedent, the rules seem to be that characters have to have human-like features. So Nala, for example, from The Lion King is not included, but Ariel from The Little Mermaid, even though she's half fish, she is included. 2, a character has to be a main heroine from a Walt Disney Animation Studios film that's also not a sequel. So Melody, for example, Ariel's daughter in the Little Mermaid sequel, she is not an official princess because she was introduced in the second film. And also other royals like Princess Leia from the Star Wars saga, even though Disney bought Star Wars, she is not included because she was made by Lucasfilm. 3, a character has to be popular, and 4, the movie has to be a box office success. So as we talked about before with Frozen, the fourth rule kind of goes both ways. Frozen was a little too popular to be included with the other princesses, but on the other hand, Chiquita from Atlantis the Lost Empire was also not made an official princess because that movie didn't do so good. So since I'm a journalism student emphasizing in visual communications and also double minoring in graphic design and cinema studies, I thought it would be really fun and interesting to take a deep dive into one of the biggest character franchises of all time and see how they've adapted to change in society and the world to stay relevant and keep their crown in media. As we saw with Pam and Jim, the Disney Princess franchise has definitely had a lot of backlash. And through my research, I wanted to find out a bit more of the context between these perspectives and try to explain how the brand has developed in response to these critiques. Studying Disney's strategy for the brand shows how important it is to really understand your audience and also how to use gender studies and socioeconomics to communicate to that audience in the best way.
History of the brand.
So chapter 1, let's talk about how the brand was actually developed. It's kind of a crazy story. So in December of 1999, previous Nike executive Andy Mooney was appointed head of Disney Consumer Products. It's a little hard to imagine today that the Disney Consumer Products division, which in 2018 made over $4 billion, was actually struggling a little bit. So before Mooney, Disney Consumer Products revenue plummeted 24%. DCP had a peak in 1997 with 749 operating Disney stores around the world and 4,200 licensees, which was mainly for Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse. But since that peak, they had been kind of a downward track. And according to the 1999 annual report, the Walt Disney Company halted half of their licensees. Now, Andy Mooney was really into doing hands-on research to understand the consumers that he was advertising for. At Nike, he would even join marathons to better understand the consumers of that sports culture and active lifestyle. He did the same thing for Disney, and he went to see a Disney on Ice show. He noticed that there were many little girls wearing generic princess costumes to try to resemble their favorite characters. And when he asked the moms of these little girls, they said that they just had to make them themselves because Disney didn't make official dresses and accessories. And looking from today's point of view, isn't that so crazy? I can't imagine that Disney didn't see the opportunity to make princess dresses before. So right away, Mooney saw the opportunity and pitched the idea to other executives so that they could sell officially licensed Disney princess dresses, merch, and much more. Much more. They made lunchboxes, computer games, books, pajamas, backpacks, bedding, wallpaper, plushies. Basically anything that they could put the princess's face on, they did. And that totaled 2,500 products by 2006. Roy E. Disney, Walt Disney's nephew, actually didn't like the idea too much because he thought that their individual mythologies would be devalued. As a compromise, it was arranged that the Disney princesses wouldn't make eye contact with each other. They would kind of just look vaguely ahead. And so the Disney Princess franchise was launched in January of 2000 with the original 9 princesses: Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, Ariel, Belle, Jasmine, Pocahontas, and Mulan. And the brand launched with $300 million in worldwide sales in its first year, and then $1.3 billion just 3 years later. Seeing this instant hit, the team saw that they could just keep going. And there really wasn't like a marketing strategy that they set up at launch. They kind of just put all their faith in that the characters would be popular enough that they wouldn't need advertising. The first time the brand actually made new content with the princesses as a group was through extended media. Like I did a case study on particularly the Princess Party DVDs. And I actually had the second volume of this. It's downstairs, but I still have it. And these DVDs had games and activities for parents to just put on TV for little girls to play with during like a birthday party. One of these games was a dress-up game where the TV would encourage little girls to get ready by dressing up in their princess gear. And this was really smart cross-marketing for the new official princess dresses that they just launched.
Why, you look as pretty as a princess. And I'm sure you'd take any prince's breath away.
And once everyone is dressed up, you click a button from the TV and the magic mirror in the game would give compliments that matched each Disney princess.
It looks like the genie has turned you into the beautiful Princess Jasmine. Aladdin will be especially pleased to see you at the ball. My, it's Snow White, the fairest of them all. I think the prince is waiting to take you away on his white horse. Isn't this fun?
So as you can see, these compliments are mostly centered around external beauty and take away the princess's personality traits. They're reduced to just their beauty and impressing the prince. Maybe it is just a fun little dress-up game, but considering that Disney themselves said that their target audience was little girls between ages 2 to 8, it is a little concerning, right, to see that they encourage little girls to focus so much on outer appearance. And this characterization of the princess continued through branded songs. One of the most famous ones is called If You Can Dream, and I grew up with this song as well. This was the first original song made specifically for the Disney Princess franchise. And what's really cool is that they actually brought back a lot of the original voice actresses. We had Jodie Benson return as Ariel, Paige O'Hara as Belle, Judy Kuhn for Pocahontas, and Lea Salonga for both Mulan and Jasmine.
You can dream reflections in a diamond sky, come shining on through. Romance will always be so new, and love will save the day.
If you can dream. It's a really good song. But looking a little more critically, If You Can Dream again puts a lot of focus on impressing a prince and centers around love being the answer. Romantic heterosexual love.
Someday my prince will come, it's certain as the sunrise. One day the slipper fits, then you see the love in his eyes. When you're finally mine and just a kiss away.
And I think the worst offender of this characterization comes from the song Every Girl Can Be a Princess. I actually didn't know this song until I started researching more about the brand, but as I read the lyrics, my eyes kept widening. It starts off pretty good and innocent. It starts saying that you don't need like a castle or anything like that to be a princess, because having a pure heart and being thoughtful is much more princess-like. But then it says things like putting on a tiara, you'll be transformed into something not the same old you, and that fashion can be learned. And again, the materialistic idea that a tiara or a ball gown is what constitutes a princess is really frustrating. The song keeps going and their idea of a princess keeps getting more and more vain.
Hold your head high and keep smiling, 'cause that's just what a princess does. Every girl can be a princess. All that's left to do is find a prince for you. A prince who's bold, who'll hold you your whole life through.
Princess in context with the feminist movement.
In my thesis paper, I actually compared the Disney Princess brand with the feminist movement to give some historical context for it. And I go a lot more in depth in the thesis paper, but I'll try to summarize it a little bit so this video is not super long. So when Sleeping Beauty premiered in 1959, the second wave of the feminist movement followed shortly after in the 1960s. The second surge concentrated a lot on sexuality and reproductive rights. The Miss America beauty pageant in 1968 and 1969 saw a lot of protests from women that criticized the pageant for its antiquated, misogynistic attitudes towards women and beauty, but also how the United States as a whole treated women. There were freedom trash cans where women were encouraged to bring what they saw as physical manifestations of women's oppression, such as bras, high heels, and makeup, as an act of rebellion and emancipation. Fast forward to 1989, and The Little Mermaid is Disney's first princess movie in 30 years. The movie's lyricist, Howard Ashman, was a gay man, and he saw his work in the movie as an opportunity to advance a social message through the medium of family entertainment. Ariel's interest in the human world are repeatedly met with reminders for her to conform to social norms in mermaid culture, and also with violence when her father discovers her collection of human memorabilia and destroys everything in her grotto. But when she meets up with Ursula as a last resort, she is told that she can successfully seduce the prince by
Don't underestimate the importance of body language.
and using her sexuality to her advantage. And this is something that matches up with the feminist movement in the 60s through the free love movement and sexual liberation. Scholar Laura Sells also wrote in an interview how Ariel, through Ursula, learns gender not as a natural category, but as a performed construct. The Little Mermaid was a huge success and brought the Disney Renaissance. Following Ariel's fins came Belle, Jasmine, Pocahontas, and Mulan, all in less than a decade. We saw more female characters who broke down gender norms, and we also saw Disney's first princesses of color, departing from the previous Eurocentric beauty standards. Of course, like any movie, there were critics of The Little Mermaid, and there were some women who were questioning the feminist proposals of the film. In the University of Southern California screening, there was a student that asked if any women were consulted in the making of the movie because she interpreted the story as a traditional, if perhaps an unconscious sexist view of the woman's role and goal, resulting from "someday my prince will come" syndrome. And this is not an uncommon interpretation. Consumers like this USC student, who were raised by Generation X that witnessed the women's liberation movement, saw the popularity of the Disney princesses as the return of traditional feminine gender norms that they fought so hard against. But then in the mid-90s and 2000s, with the third wave of feminism, women were reclaiming their femininity. Items like makeup and high heels that were thrown away in those freedom trash cans before were being reclaimed as women saw that they didn't have to give up their femininity in order to fight for equality, that there could be beauty and brains. And now with the launch of the Disney Princess brand, it was the perfect time for a girly brand.
Illustration Redesigns and Backlash.
In 2013, the characters got a makeover to make the characters more appealing to a 21st century audience. Cinderella, for example, has a more modern bun hairstyle, and her hair is more brightly yellow than her strawberry blonde hair in the movie. And consumers are starting to notice how these characters were being pushed in the traditional princess mold. Even characters who aren't even royal, like Mulan. Mulan the character and Mulan the marketing commodity are not the same person. But no other princess makeover got as much backlash as Merida's. Her illustration made her skinnier and with neater curly hair. Her dress had more sparkles, a lower neckline, and was kind of like a mix between her riding dress and her ceremony dress that she is visibly uncomfortable by. And it really makes no sense. Merida's fans were really shocked by this transformation, and a Change.org petition was actually made called Keep Our Hero Brave. The petition had 259,000 signatures before it closed, and many comments from fans who were tired of seeing these characters brought down to one-dimensional beings with no personality. And they were also really tired of the Princess brand's communication that a woman needed to look a certain way to be deemed a hero. As other studies have shown, even though princess play and dress-up is not inherently bad, The idea of fairy tales and princesses was now being commercialized by Disney's mass production and consumerism. And because of the lack of marketing strategy or campaigns, the characters lost all their personality, morality, and all this historical context too with the feminist movement, and left to become a lineup of materialistic and one-dimensional characters. No wonder feminists saw the Disney princesses as setbacks to the movement, and no wonder were parents worried that their daughters would become just as one-dimensional.
The rebranding.
Needing a fresh start after all this backlash, Disney reached out to Terry and Sandy, an independent advertising agency founded by two female creatives. CEOs Terry Meyer and Sandy Greenberg had worked together for over 25 years and are responsible for some successful campaigns such as Oreo's Milk's Favorite Cookie and Gerber's Anything for Baby. And in 2016, they took over Disney Princess to launch a campaign that would redefine the brand, called Dream Big Princess. And their tagline was,
"For every girl who dreams big, there's a princess to show her it's possible."
The agency conducted research on the character's legacy and also all these critiques that the brand was too superficial and focused on romance. And they broke down each princess to market her not as a damsel in distress, but as a heroine of her own story. Snow White is an optimist and is quick to befriend others. Cinderella never gives up. And Aurora is wondrous and imagines what's possible. Ariel is an explorer. Belle never judges a book by its cover. Jasmine is open to trying new things. Pocahontas defends the earth. And Mulan has the heart of a warrior. Tiana works hard to make her dreams come true. Rapunzel is ready to jump into new adventures. Merida is brave. And Moana sets her own path. The overall message is that the Disney princesses are dreamers, and so are the children that they inspire. Being a princess is not about the tiara or the glass slipper, but about having courage and compassion.
You can be the greatest, you can be the best, you can be the King Kong banging on your chest. You can be the hero, you can get the gold, breaking over, making sleep another cookie, bro. Yeah, do it for your people, do it for your pride. You'll be on the walls of the just be politicians, be preachers.
In only 2 months, that video grossed 15 million views across the internet. Disney also commissioned artists to create posters of the 10 princess principles, which included caring for others, righting wrongs, and believing in yourself. They partnered up with Girl Up, the United Nations initiative to support girls' empowerment and leadership. For every like and photo/video shared under the hashtag Dream Big Princess, Disney would donate $1 to the charity. A Dream Big Princess video series was created where 21 young women from 13 different countries got some advice and tips from professionals in the industry that they were interested in. And the official marketing illustrations also got an update to show the princesses' interests. 2018 also brought the return of the branded princess song. Live Your Story first premiered performed by Tina Perol, and then it was covered by Moana actress Ali'i Carvalho for a music video.
Dream, see, write, live your story. Every day keeps unfolding, unfolding.
The new princess marketing is a lot healthier for children to watch and be inspired by. And the brand has already impacted so many people across multiple generations. I got to interview a whole bunch of creators that I myself am inspired by, and I'm sure you guys know and love as well. I got to talk to creators like Tracy Hines, Amber Arden, Sarah Engel, and my friend Jeremy Singh, who each have an incredible connection to the Disney princesses and propel their message of kindness and love to the world. I also got to chat with the McLeod and Vargas families, both who show that princesses aren't just for girls either. Both families have incredible little boys who love expressing themselves through fashion and look up to the Disney princesses as heroines. And I think it's so awesome. I'm afraid I'm running out of time, so please go check out my actual thesis paper where you can read all about these incredible people. And also, of course, check out their social media pages. It's so crazy, for example, how I remember watching Tracy Hines' Part of Your World music video at the beginning of high school. And so to talk to her now for my thesis was so awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed exploring my research about the Disney Princess brand and their impact in the world with me. I hope it was interesting and that you had fun. Again, this accomplishment means so much to me. I came to the United States not really knowing any English. I knew like some words, but I couldn't put together like sentences properly. And so to write 122 pages on research, it means a lot to me, and I'm really thankful for all of your support and everyone around me, all the teachers who helped me get to this point. I am really happy. And graduation's just around the corner, and I'm feeling very thankful. I would love to hear your stories and connections to the Disney princesses, and also would love to chat about your critiques and stuff like that. My comments and DMs are always open. And again, please make sure to check out my written thesis for a whole bunch more information and also all of my sources. Thank you for joining me in this journey, and I'll see you later!